Humble has released a brand new bundle filled with cooking games, and it has some fantastic titles included. Cooking Simulator, Sugar Shack, and PlateUp are some of the 7 great games included in this amazing deal. To show you which games are playable and which aren't on the Steam Deck, here is a quick look on how each of them are running on the handheld. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos, hit that like and subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified as soon as our next video goes live. One quick note, we are not showing optimized settings for these games. This is just a quick overview on how each game is going to run on there so you know which games are playable and which aren't, regardless of the Steam Deck verified or playable rating. So let's start with the games that you can get from the most expensive tier of this bundle, starting with Cooking Simulator. This is the premier cooking game where you have to use physics to make meals from scratch, or make your own meals entirely. The game plays well and can easily hit 40 frames per second without any issue and save some battery, but 45 or 50 may be possible on some different levels. The bundle also comes with the Shelter DLC, which performs around the same on average, sometimes slightly better due to it being a more closed off area versus other levels. Next up is Chef, the full menu bundle. This is a bundle that includes the restaurant management game and its DLC. Out of the box, it can run and does seem playable, though as your restaurant grows, the more power you're going to need to handle it. It seems like it is playable at 30 frames per second, and you will need to use trackpads since there's no controller support, but I wouldn't consider it unplayable. The gourmet upgrade for the free co-op cooking game, One Arm Cook, is next. There was no issue playing this game, and it was running at a solid 60 frames per second during our short time testing, with some high battery drain. It is rated playable due to sometimes showing incorrect controller icons and needing to bring up the keyboard manually, but it is great otherwise. It doesn't have controller support, so there may be some issues, but for the most part, it should be perfectly playable. Sugar Shack is the last game exclusive to the most expensive tier, and it's a great one to play on the Steam Deck. In our testing, the cozy co-op sandbox game stuck to 58 to 60 frames per second with some very high battery drain at around 23 watts to 25 watts. With some configuring, we could bring down a frame rate and get higher quality visuals, but that's completely up to you. Now we get to the games included in the $7 tier, which is the lowest tier here. These games are included in the $12 version of the bundle, but the $12 games that we just went over are not going to be included in this tier. First up here is PlateUp, the co-op cooking game. You will cook and serve dishes as you design and decorate your restaurants and unlock new abilities. Think of it kinda like Overcooked. The game plays really well on the Steam Deck, sitting at around 60 frames per second as we started out, but this is expected to get a bit harder to run as your restaurant gets bigger and you expand, so I expect around 40 frames per second or 30 at the lowest, but it's still playable. Next is Diner Bros, a local co-op restaurant management game. You will have to cook and serve meals to your customers fast, all while upgrading your restaurant and staff to make ends meet. Just like the last game, it runs at 60 frames per second and appears to have some minor micro stutters, but it still feels great. This could be harder to run as you upgrade and expand as well, so expect 30 or 40 frames per second at least later on. Then we have Cafe Owner Simulator, the simulator where you create and open your dream restaurant in first person. While it does launch and it is playable, it's a bit harder to run than the other games. At default, we were getting around lower than 30 frames per second, making it really hard to enjoy. The game starts you off on ultra quality settings, which doesn't help, but even on low, it's going to be tough. You can set the resolution to 960 by 600 and use SteamOS FSR to get more stable performance with some sharper visuals. There's also no controller support, so you will need to use a community controller configuration or the keyboard and mouse controls. And finally, we have Epic Chef, a story-driven comedy adventure game. It seems to be a mixed bag in terms of performance, seeing as being inside drops it to around 30 frames per second, but being outside can go all the way up to 60. So I would say play the game at 30 frames per second for safety, and it could get heavier as your restaurant is packed and you're serving customers, so beware that it could drop and you may need to change quality settings. And that's all for this bundle. A link to it will be in our description, and it is an affiliate link. So if you want to support us and you want to get all these awesome games, go ahead and use that link, and thank you. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like and subscribe button. We also do have a podcast that we upload every Monday where we talk about the Steam Deck, games, Linux, and more, all in one place. So you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, wherever you want to listen to your podcast. And a big thank you to our Patreons, whose direct support is helping make all of this possible. Subscribing can get you an ad-free website experience, early podcast episodes with uncut versions, behind-the-scenes content, and more. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.